what I do.
I'm doubting this has a thing.
Yeah.
I'm doubting that this has bots. We're watching this film that Robyn has.
It's called Ankle Biters.
Now, this was sent via the Minions to from a dear friend of mine called Tony Helms, who for literally years he's been telling me about this film and trying to get me to watch it. Now, I've never come across it in my day-to-day life, so I never picked it up. Finally, he was like, I'm taking this into my own hands and the Minions' own hands by mailing it to them to give to me. And I just said because he went through all that fucking effort to make sure I watch his film about little people vampires, that I would do a backseat critique of it, and since Robyn's over today, that's what we did.
Yay! I'm so happy to have seen this film.
3 feet tall, 2-inch fangs.
It's...
This isn't good.
No, it's poorly shot, the lighting's all wrong, the dialogue is barely understandable, the sound balance is way off.
Tech-wise, it reminded me a lot of God of Vampires in that it's a vampire film, obviously made by someone who really wants to make something, you know, cool, but technologically it's just not there.
There was one scene where there were people talking and the bird song outside the place was louder than them talking.
You had bits where guys were having like scenes together in like darkness and you could barely see what was going on. Like, there was a couple of moments where you can actually see them talking, but you only realize afterwards that there's actually a whole extra people you hadn't noticed in the conversation just because it's so dark. There was one fight scene where I was sure one of the people had turned into a 1930s style werewolf because the lighting was so bad it made this poor black guy look like he was the wolf man. It's like, oh dear, that was embarrassing. But one of the little people vampires looked just like Danny John Jules, who played the cat in Red Dwarf. And I know this because I've been watching a lot of Red Dwarf extra features for my eventual Red Dwarf guide. As in, I'm watching every single extra feature on the DVDs. So I've seen them in interviews a lot. And it's like, oh, fuck. 3 foot tall Danny John Jules with 2-inch fangs. But he's the cat, so he already has 2-inch fangs.
I can't comment on that.
So, you got the little people vampires who can only be killed if you inject them with vampire blood because, you know...
Only because if you inject them with little people vampire blood.
Yeah. You know... There's no evidence whether this works if you take their own blood and stab them back into them, even though I have no idea why that would work, but apparently it might. Mm. And they're being hunted down by this guy who's basically white milk toasty version of Blade.
Yep.
Who
Blade from the comics then?
Blade was black in the comics. He was English and black.
I thought it was white in some of them. I don't know. I haven't read Blade.
Anyway, this guy, because he's a half vampire, half human, clearly taken off a blade, I like to imagine that his mother was bitten by a little person, so he's half little person, and that's why he's able to be a vampire. And he's actually played by Carl from The Walking Dead's abusive dead husband. So I was like, holy shit, wow! He also wrote and directed this. This is possibly the most abusive thing he did to Carl, making her watch this.
So, little people vampires are the only ones remaining, and they haven't taken over the world because, as the movie rightly points out,
reasons.
It's not the most common kind of person. They can only affect each other. I don't know why, but they get a magic sword that allows them to infect average-sized people,
tall people,
people who don't suffer from a multitude of different things that could cause them to be short, or simply are smaller than average, or have dwarfism, or...
I tell you, I want a crossover between this and Elfman, and I want it yesterday, and then I want a sequel to that crossover, which introduces the Minis, the little person basketball team who team up with Dennis Rodman movie, because that exists. Zed Regulus, someone tell Zed Regulus that I just mentioned him, but Zed Regulus, he fucking made me watch it. It's like Sting Moment of Truth without any Christianity and a lot of little people. Continue.
So, apparently, even though there's no exact science to it, the little people and not little people can't have crossovers in this contamination. So, the little people get a magic sword that allows them to stab somebody with it and go I
Blah,
can't
blah,
remember.
blah, blah, blah. Now you're...
Chant, and it made some big beefy guy vampire.
This guy looks just like Matt Forney, the internet pickup artist. It looks just like him. It's hilarious.
To me, it looks like if you're going to introduce some guy to be like a bit of a douchebag on a TV soap opera, this is the guy you pick.
So he looks like Matt Forney.
Ah, that makes sense. But he's super strong, and he can now infect people of not small proportions.
Yeah, so now we've got giant vampires. Even though the whole gimmick is it's little person vampires, most of the vampires, in fact, in the film are of average height.
Yep.
This is like Siege all over again, where it's like fascists versus gays in a fucking, gay bar. Oh no, all the gays are dead. Let's just bring straight people into it again. You had the concept. You abandoned it for just something that's been done over and over and over again. For shame.
So there are 3 distinct groups of vampire hunters in this as well.
There's the noisy guys out there. They're actually involved. They're annoyed at our vlog.
Yep.
They're trying to censor us.
We will not be censored.
I actually had someone on Twitter telling me I actually am technically being censored by not being given a show on YouTube. Right? No, it was a show on, not given a show on ABC where I can say the word cunt over and over and over again. Some people really don't know what the word censorship means.
Well, it is a dual meaning word. It's not censorship as censorship should be used, but it's like literally now means figuratively also.
It's a colloquial use of censorship that's not accurate, and it really bothers me because the actual censorship and de facto censorship caused by business or people being loud or whatever, they have very different causes, and so you're trying to fight them. If you just concentrate on one type, you're not going to affect the other, so you really need to differentiate between the two. But
yes, so there's 3 distinct groups of vampire hunters, and the movie makes it very apparent that at least 2 of them are working together from the start. Then they're not.
One of them looks just like Rob Zombie.
Yeah. So this Rob Zombie guy and not Blade have made a barricade together using their cars, and they're standing side by side, aiming weapons at this group of little people vampires and the new big not Phil Mitchell vampire.
And jumping back up onto cars in reverse.
Yep. So they're standing there holding weapons, and I think whoever made this film, has just occurred to me, played a lot of turn-based strategies. There seemed to be a lot of the thought of, it's my turn, you can't move on my turn. Because like they would walk past people, pick up a rifle, turn around, the person would still be standing like, no. Pick up the gun, turn around, have a shot at them, then they dodge. It's like,
my favourite example of that sort of thing in film was in Colonel Kill Motherfuckers, review coming soon, where you've got this guy trying to beat up the titular Colonel Kill Motherfuckers, so he keeps punching it, hitting. Colonel Kill keeps deflecting perfectly, and then he stops to have a conversation with the other ones while he's doing this, and Colonel Kill he never gets to his turn, so he's just waiting there patiently while the conversation's going on.
But so anyway, like the 2 people that set up a barricade, not Blade decides to go hand to hand with this dude who's also a vampire and obviously much bigger than him, and loses, jumps on a few cars, does a few backward shot tricks and fun times, lands again, then he walks past the tricycle where the 3 little person vampires are still in their seats and seat belted in from where they arrived, steals one of their hats, walks about 10 yards up the road, picks up his gun, turns around and is like, I'm going to shoot you now. And
even though you're all immune to bullets.
And then they're like, oh no, we better scarp her. So they scarp her.
So yeah, they drive away.
So then the other guy who's been standing there this whole time holding his bow, ready to shoot, well, we get a really confusing act because not Blade does a big standing jump up onto a bridge.
Yeah.
He goes with his arrow, then he does a backflip off it, and it's like, I'll get you next time. And they're both standing there like this, and then it cuts.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got the feeling I'm going to add this to the review pile, but I have no idea how long it's going to take to get to it because I have a big review pile.
I'm sorry, we were actually doing 2 separate vlogs at the same time. I'll catch you next time.
"3 feet tall, 2-inch fangs."
Yeah,
the greatest lyrics since the pussy opera in Starbuddy.
Oh. I don't know. Did that film earlier, where blackbirds fly? They don't have some lyrics like "fuck me in my pussy with your massive cock" or something.
Entirely possible, though. The Not as good as the pussy opera singing.
Okay.
Sorry, you know, that was next level shit.
Yeah.
You know, on YouTube, at least there were, I don't know if they still are, the original Starbuddy short films are there and available to watch. They're about 20 minutes each, and they were made before RuPaul was famous, and I have copies, and I am going to make reviews at some point.
I'm glad I have this information now.
You should be glad.
I won't watch them.
Why?
I have other things to
You
watch.
watch my reviews?
I watch your reviews.
Well, you watch the reviews then.
I'll watch the reviews, I won't watch the originals.
I'm going to review the originals.
I know, but I'm not going to actively seek them out. If the fans want to seek them out, they
You're
can.
fine.
But I don't like RuPaul much.
3 feet tall, 2-inch fangs.
3 feet tall, 2-inch fan. So then later, this like third guy, and they're just like, there's another vampire hunter. He's called a cowboy. Cowboy appears. He's like, hi, I'm the cowboy. It's like, hello, cowboy. We're all vampire hunters.
Why are you dressed like a cowboy? Because I'm called the cowboy.
We're all vampire hunters. I've been hunting you for 7 years. You never caught me yet. And then another scene. Let's all work together.
Yeah, so in the end you got these vampires. You got White Blade, you've got Rob Zombie, you've got Cowboy Guy, and you got this old guy who seems to be an elderly economics libertarian professor, you know, who's like obsessed with objectivism and just teaches people about, you know, free market and shit like that.
I thought it was Rob Zombie's Alfred.
Well, he might be, but he reminded me of the sort of guy who will not shut the fuck up about the Frankfurt School, while in a university.
But yeah, so they haven't been working together this whole time, even though they've had several meetings and friendly banter and worked together. They decide to work together.
And you had this great bar scene where guys were like having a fight, and in order to show that it was in fact a real bar, because you've got every so often during the action scene you cut back to the same 2-second bit of the barman going like, and you can tell the bar looked amazing because, you know, it's got like nice wood paneling everywhere with all these sorts of American beers, but you've got shamrocks everywhere.
Paper shamrocks.
So it's like an Irish bar as imagined by an American who's never actually been in Ireland, let alone a bar in Ireland.
Or an Irish bar in America.
Yeah.
That scene really annoyed me as well because White Blade and his little person partner were having a fight, and they just like walking into the bar like, you're giving out tickets to a rave, and this rave caused vampires to happen. Stop doing that. I'm going to grab you by your shirt. That bar fight breaks out. But
it reminded me of like an attempt to do a cover version of the Near Dark bar brawl, but completely misunderstanding everything narratively and efficiently and how to do it and everything.
So it's entirely plot driven though. So the first guy comes up, whacks Not Blade with a pool cue, and he's like, oh, well I have a perfectly good weapon. I'll just cast that aside and stand here and wait for you to punch me. So he gets punched. The little person climbs up onto the bar, and the next person walks straight up to him, stops in front of him, goes, gets a kick to the face. Another person goes up to attack Not Blade from behind, gets right up behind him, stops in front of the little person, stands there for a minute or two, gets a bottle to the head, which was like more like whoosh, than anything else. It wasn't even a proper smack, and goes down. And it's like a series of incompetent villains walking up and being like, attack me. There's literally no attempt to actually hurt anybody on the good team. It's like, I'm going to kill you. Pause. It's your turn. I'm sorry. It was some of the worst action scenes I've seen.
The same guy, he wrote and directed. He's done several films. I looked up his IMDb while we were watching it, and he did a movie Wise Guys versus Zombies. So I imagine it's probably an equally stellar piece of, you know, gangsters versus zombie action. But and we were talking earlier on about. Yes, there was this bit where the little people bang the sword off these businessmen, and it really, really struck me as something that would happen in Pawn Stars. So, and then I discovered that the guy who directed this who played White Blade, is actually in a movie. Seems to be in some sort of exploitation-ish movie based on that sort of reality TV show. If not actually just an episode of the TV show, but I didn't recognize its name.
Yeah. If you've seen
like
Pawn Stars, you understand the accents in this film.
Yeah, it was called like Storeroom Wars or something.
Yeah.
I really hope it's about a war between guys who go after storage lockers. That would be amazing.
An actual war.
Yeah.
I found a storage locker full of guns. Well,
Yeah.
I found a storage locker full of military ordnance.
Oh no! I found a storage locker full of buckets. I'm gonna die. That'll be great. You get a bunch of military guys who hate each other, and you can choose 5 storage lockers each, and you have to make weapons out of each of these things in order to kill each other. Someone make this movie!
That'd be interesting, like a battle royale kind of scenario.
Yeah!
Oh no.
MacGyver shit together, or you can just stab people with a giant piece of glass. Just as dead.
Oh yeah, it's not quite as efficient, but it works.
Yeah. Someone make this. I want to see this.
But that's another problem I had. The little people vampires are established to have been going for quite some time because they were there before all of the other vampires died out.
Yep.
And they make a deal to buy this sword, the magic sword that lets them infect not little people, and they meet up with this guy. He's like, "I've traveled halfway around the world to get you this sword. I hope you got my money." And then they're like, "Yeah, we've got your money." It's like,
yeah.
"Well, here's your magic sword." And they're like, "Okay, now we're gonna kill you." Why not just pay the man?
Yeah. Plus, the guy he's buying the sword off, who travelled halfway around the world to get to the south of the USA to give them the sword, was from the south of the USA. So apparently this is the only guy who deals with magical weapons who went to Australia to live and to work, who came back to the USA for this one little business deal.
And then later,
You couldn't have put on an accent.
the same little people are buying information later at the back of the warehouse. They're like, "Can you tell us where this guy is?" And he's like, "Here's the location. I did a bit of sleuthing for you and talked to some of my contacts and found it out and wrote it down." And they're like, "Okay, now we're going to kill you. Like, I don't need the money. Now we're going to kill you." It's like, if you want to get caught, that's how you get caught.
Well, to be fair, you can't get a bad reputation for being a shitty customer if you kill the people you're buying stuff from.
But you can't build up a good one either. You need a good reputation.
Well, they've got a good one. They're like immortal little people vampire things. Oh, by the way, the 4th film in this fictional Ankle Biters movie series, you got Ankle Biters 1, then you got Ankle Biters 2, where it's crossed over with Elfman, and then you introduce the minis. And the 4th one, I want fucking Tiptoes in there. Gary Oldman on his knees, fucking wandering around. Peter Dinklage playing the French sex addict communist. It will be so good. You ever seen Tiptoes, have you?
No.
Imagine a little person
I've
family
seen
drama.
clips.
Done by the guy who did Confessions of a Trick Baby. Fuck yeah.
I like Confessions of a Trick Baby.
I love Confessions of a Trick Baby.
It's a good film.
It's awesome.
This was not a good film.
I'm trying to improve Ankle Biters by connecting it with everything that I can think of.
But it was technically rubbish.
Yes.
The plot was rubbish.
Yes.
The writing was awful.
Yes.
The acting was poor.
Yes.
It was too long.
Yes. It was only 80 minutes long.
It was too long.
Right? Yes.
I can't find anything positive to say about it apart from it's
finished.
really good for diversity, including quite so many little people in the cast and.
Well, it's hard to. It is really hard unless you're the guy Matthew Bright and you're making Tiptoes. It is really hard to make a film about little people and not have little people in it. But Matthew Bright's just like Gary Oldman on his knees. That's good enough. We got Peter Dinklage in a couple of scenes.
And I don't know if it's exploitation or not. To have like.
Well, broadly, it's exploitation genre because there's a heavy crossover with horror there.
Yeah.
Is it little people exploitation? No, because little people exploitation suggests that that the film's point is for the little people. While with this, they're basically side characters and it's named after them. So, type of exploitation film, yes, but not little people exploitation.
Oh, okay, fair enough. It's problematic in some ways though. The fact that it's called Ankle Biters feels problematic to me. Don't ask me to parse and explain that because I can't.
They bite very few ankles. Generally, they bite you in the legs or knock you over and then bite you in the chest.
Yeah, mostly thighs, to be honest.
Yeah.
They went for the neck once or twice, which is traditional. Also, their vampires are different. They don't react to sunlight. They're not allergic to garlic. Crosses and holy water do nothing. Wooden stakes, they'll just be pulled out and shoved up your ass. Direct quote from the movie.
That one is like a paraphrasing of something James Wood said in John Carpenter's Vampires. There's no. It's just funny.
I want to see a good vampire movie with the proper vampire mythos. They turning into a bat, can't cross a boundary without asking permission.
So you start with the Dracula mythos. The original book Dracula.
Yeah, I want to see some. Like, I get that it's old hat and it's outdated, but like, it would be an interesting take to actually have vampires with what's the accepted vampire mythos, you know, all of the weaknesses of vampires, not just super strong humans that have to drink blood every so often.
Closest one to that I can think of is not 100%, but closest would be Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah. We're dead and loving it.
Well, yes, Leslie Nielsen is dead and loving it. Just I hope he's loving it, otherwise it's very awkward.
You made me sad.
Make Leslie Nielsen sadder.
Oh, true. I used to not be able to distinguish visually between the names Leslie Nielsen and Liam Neeson. It led to a lot of confusion when reading blog posts.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
I was really looking forward to Leslie Nielsen's Taken though.
Or finding out Leslie Nielsen's actually from Northern Ireland.
That would have been impressive. So, Ankle Biters is a movie.
It was a movie we watched.
Yeah. I feel really bad that we're complaining about the production value. Well, I'm complaining about production value of it, but it's really annoyed me. I've watched a lot of movies with low production value that are actually stellar. Like, I can't list them off, but you can. You've got that kind of memory. There are good movies out there with crap production values.
Oh yeah. There's ones which look far worse, which cost far less, as far as I can tell, which I thought were better.
And you're watching two people sitting on a sofa.
You know, in low lighting, because there's very good lighting here with terrible audio because everything's echoing. Yeah. But for instance, a film that you've never seen that I thought was better than Ankle Biters that's much lower budget is The Bone Setter, which is a Quebecois horror film that I picked up when I went to the was it Montreal or Ottawa Comic Con, and it was about Bone Setter being a Victorian medical-ish guy, and he was like undead and killing people. I did a nano-view about it, like that.
I forgot a point I was going to make. I spent the first 30 minutes watching this film trying to figure out if it was an evangelical film or not. Until somebody said the word shit, I couldn't figure it out.
To be fair, you've seen Remake.
I spent the first 90 minutes of that film trying to work out if it was a film or not, sorry.
Remake has the word bastard and shit and people talking. Someone uses the words Auschwitz when describing porn. Remake is... I don't know who the fuck it's for.
Why would you need an enema? An enema is to clear yourself out before doing an anal scene. What's an anal scene? It's when somebody puts their cock in your ass in porn. It's like,
yeah, that film is about 20% made up of deranged speeches by anti-porn campaigners. And it is really weird watching because it's like, this is an evangelical film. Jesus, 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 Jesus. Let's talk about porn. It's like watching your parents talk inaccurately about one of your favourite things. And you can't correct them. Oh God. Yeah, that review's coming. It's like in post-production. Coming.
Coming soon. I corrected my mum once. She thought she smelled a weed coming from my brother's bedroom. I was like, that's not weed, that's tobacco. She's like, why do you know that? And I'm like, why do you know that? Ooh. One of the worst mistakes I made. Don't correct your parents on how drugs smell if they think you're a good person.
Did we tell a story about how one of us, whenever I was house sitting for my parents, one of us left a copy of Sugar High Glitter City in their Blu-ray player because I was taking notes for the review, and we dragged my PC over to use that to watch stuff, but for some reason it wouldn't work on that, so we ended up putting it on the Blu-ray player, and I'd forgotten about it, and so days after they got back, they finally used the Blu-ray player. I'm like, oh, what is this disc already in here? Ah! And I think I'm one of the few people in history whose parents would actually take their excuse, you know, it's like, oh no, it's for notes. I was just watching to write funny things about the lesbians, and you know, and I'd have it A, be true, and B, then believe it.
I'd also accept the thing. I invited one of my friends trying to watch that with me.
Yeah.
It wasn't in a sexual way. No, we just like to sit on the sofa and watch porn together occasionally.
There are some advantages to your parents knowing what you do for a living when you're in my position. Like, why have you ordered the entire, like, this 500 million DVDs? I need it for research. People are making me buy stuff.
Why are you credited in this porn Blu-ray?
This is true. Yeah, the Preaching to the Perverted on the Blu-ray edition. There's actually a copyright-free version of my review on it. As in, I removed all the stuff that's not me or the film itself, and it's in there. Though it's an SD copy.
I have nothing else to say about ankle biters.
It's the third film we watched today, and it is probably the worst. No, it's easily the worst.
Yeah.
First one was When Blackbirds Fly, which is by the same guy who did Where the Dead Go to Die.
It's probably... Oh crap, I'm upside down. Suggested videos, wherever they are.
That way.
Yeah, it's probably over there.
And the other one we watched was Desperate Living. That is an Hagen review. That's possibly the next one I write, actually. I mean, it's going to be that, or a Film Brain if you watch. It's just actually someone message at Film Brain, tell him to send me the fucking notes for Voyage of the Rock Aliens so I can write it. And someone sent a message to Ashens as well saying, dude, Ashens, Mystics in Bali. You guys are finding out about planned crossovers right now.
As long as we're messaging random reviewers, can somebody message Mike Jevons and just tell him I love him and would love to be his friend? Actually, don't do that. That's really creepy. That was entirely facetious.
Do it. Well, him and they all know each other.
I know.
And someone also tell Film Brain that he needs to tell me. He needs to bother me about choosing another Paul Matthews film because we're doing Alcon again this year, and we can't have 3 Alcons in a row and not have a third Paul Matthews film. I have other ones. I have a horror movie. I have a fantasy movie with David Warner and a fucking unicorn. I have this one that seems to be set in the aftermath of the Civil War, so it's a semi-western-ish drama. They're all going to be shit. Can't wait.
I used to like movies before I met you.
Oh?
I still like them, but I used to as well. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, Tony. This is going on the review pile.